Let's get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome to session 4. So today's session will cover the third domain. We'll cover domain weightage, access control concepts. So primarily, this particular domain talks about access control. Again, the weightage access control concepts holds 22% of the weightage in the exam. So you may expect 22 questions on this topic. Primarily, access control split into two primary areas. One is logical or technical access controls. When I say logical or technical, most of the system related access controls, it could be firewall, any other computer network equipment, wherever you see access control, that fall under logical or technical access control. Physical access control, normally you can see from the office outside, like deploying a security guard, designing a door or automated door system. These all fall under physical access controls because we are protecting physical on-premises or offices using physical security forces. The two primary two primary components in access control. One is subject, another one is object. So for this example, subject can be human, process, computer, algorithm, or any program. Subject can be. Object can be the target. It could be file, it could be admin console, it could be algorithm or process or data. So subject, for example, put a human in the first step. As a human as a subject, as a human or a requester subject, I wanted to access a database. So I go to access database and put my credentials, then get into the database. Here what's happening? User is a subject, accessing an object. In this case, object is a database. Subject is the human. Let's put automation script. You have a script. That script every 5 minutes update the database with some information you have automated. So now subject is that particular script, object is your database. So subject can be human or any object, but subject primarily means requesting the access. Okay, so now subject and object is clear. What is access is the right that is granted to the subject to perform a function with the object. So granted to the subject to perform a function, right? So to grant an access, you may use access control policies. For example, user A has access to database. You have put access control policy. User A is the source, destination is the database. That is an access control policy, right? So we can grant access, for example, subject, we can grant access to subject to access an object that is controlled by access control. This is very base and simple foundational concept. If you take legacy old traditional firewall, very basic access control, source IP address, destination IP address, allow block, simple. Source is the subject, destination is the object. The control is allow block or redirect, kind of an object, we can enforce in terms of access control policy. So here, for exam standpoint, you need to know what is subject, what is object, what is access. That's all about this access control concept. Next, move on with the authorized versus unauthorized personnel. Authorized access takes place when an authorized user requests and is granted access to an object. I put the same text as from the textbook. Authorized access takes place when an authorized user requests and granted access to an object. You are accessing your internet banking. You are the sole account owner. You have access to your internet banking. You have user ID, password, and OTP. You are authorized to access your internet banking. Unauthorized access is when subject gets access to a resource they are not authorized for. You found someone's credential, or somehow your browser had someone else account credentials loaded in. You just access the bank directly, get into the someone else net banking, is classified as unauthorized access because you are not owner of that account. You don't have privilege to see others financial information or their internet banking or particular account. So authorized means you have the rights to access that particular object. Unauthorized means you don't have access, but somehow you have got access. Primarily, the unauthorized access fit into hackers or people who violate the policy by tampering the credentials or stealing someone's credentials and accessing and get into the application. So that's called authorized, unauthorized personnel. Need to know is a basic rights. Need to know means when you log into your HR payslip application, you must know your payslip. When you log into your HR portal, when you see someone else payslip, that become a problem because need to know means you have rights to see that data, but what you don't have rights to see someone else monthly salary slip or pay slip from the HR portal, right? So need to know means it's a basic premise of access control. Access to a resource should only be granted to a user who has legitimate need to know. When you are a employee, you have access to your payslip application, you have legitimate need, you have full rights to see your payslip. So need to know means when subject has full rights to see the data. That means need to know. Just I'm focusing on this terminology. When you see need to know in your exam, you must know what is that mean. So need to know means it's a basic rights. Subject has access to that particular object. Now come to least privilege, principle of least privilege. Let's start with the story. There was a bank locker. In that locker, there was a tube light which was not functioning. Now bank manager requested for a service. The electrician came. They given access to that locker room. Along with the locker room access, they have given all the locker keys. So now the electrician go and fix the tube light on the room, but however, the electrician had access to all the lockers. He can access anyone's account valuables. If you understand this example, the only limited privilege needed for the electrician is he just need that room access, the locker room access to replace the tube light. But instead, he granted with more permission to access individual lockers. This is called overprivilege. So what is least privilege? When I hire an electrician, I only need to grant, here is the specific area where you are going to work. Only that room access I will grant, other than any other door or any other locker, I shouldn't give the access. I just put in a simple term, in IT industry, how this become a problem. Let's say you are hired as a support engineer. You have access to customers support ticket information. Let's say support ticket, what problem customer reported, what product customer is using. That is the minimum privilege you need to support the customer. Let's say you have somehow got access to a production code repository. You can go and read the code, then it become a overprivilege. Another example, you joined a company, you have access to your HR portal. In HR portal, you have privilege to change your salary. What will happen? You can put any number, that much amount credited in end of the month, right? So this became a primary reason for data leakage and security incidents in IT industry. So we need to enforce principle of least privilege to the subject so that subject cannot access more than they wanted. So how we can define specific access control for a subject? Maybe using role-based access, support engineer or XYZ role, developer XYZ role, HR XYZ role. So like that, they define set of roles for specific department and job function assigned to that specific people. So they cannot access other than what they have permission, granted. Hope this concept is clear. So principle of least privilege, you may expect some questions. So make sure you understand these concepts clearly. It's a concept that a user should only have access to a resource that they need in order to do their job, but not more than that. That's the textbook definition. Now quiz time. Take the quiz and hit the chat button. I like maybe minimum people join today. I would request each one of you to participate in this quiz. It's very easy one. So Siva is a security administrator setting up access for a new employee who works in the manufacturing department. Siva makes sure to enable the employee's access for the manufacturing area, but not for the part storage area. What best describes the principle Siva is applying? Yeah. So here, always in ISC squared, we need to eliminate least answers and most suitable answer we need to figure out. In that aspect, principle of authentication is not matching anything. 2% rule, we haven't seen that concept so far. Need to know, maybe, yeah, could be, but least privilege is most appropriate and meeting the requirements, so the answer is 4. Next quiz, which statement best describes the relationship between subject, object and rules? Come on guys, right or wrong, don't worry, just participate, whatever you understand from the class. So which statement best describes the relationship between subject, object and rules? A subject grants access to an object based on rules. So the first one, the problem, if I am a subject, if I am a user, I cannot grant access to myself, right? So subject never grants access to an object, because if this statement is true, what will happen? Put subject as me. I can generate access to any resources in my company. No, someone need to give that access. So first one is not an answer. An object is granted access to a subject based on rules. Database never access the user. User always request access for database, right? So second is not an answer. A subject is granted access to an object based on rules. Yeah, third one is matching, because subject, user granted to access database based on access control policy rules. So third one is matching. Fourth one, an object is granted access to a subject based on credentials. No, we never apply credentials based controls. So next concept is, most of you have seen in many situations, segregation of duties and separation of duties, right? Take a news publishing agency, journalist or field worker go and collect the news, then writer will write the news, right? Then that drafted news will be published to proofreading. Proofreaders identify the grammatical errors, governance, compliance, law they apply on that particular news. then they will publish. So just publishing a news requires 3 people work together: journalist, proofreader, another publishing agency. If you take any software, someone develop the code, someone test the code or application, someone maintain the version repository before each release. So in that aspect, we are separating the duties. Why we are doing that? Why writer can be a proofreader and proofreader can be a publisher? All can be mapped to one person, right? Why we are having developer and a tester and again another guy managing the version control? So the problem with that approach, if we combine all the department or multiple works into single person, fraud may happen. Because, for example, I have written a false story. I am the proofreader. I can make that as a fraud. I can, independently work as a independent news publisher, and I can make news based on my influence. It never be true because no one is going to judge my work. I am the writer, I am the proofreader, I am publishing. So fraud may happen. Error also happen. As a human, when you do task by yourself, you may end up having trouble, right? So you may miss anything. For example, you have missed primary content in the news, then the news become invalid. When you develop a software, you put major bug without proper QA testing or validation, the software become a big vulnerability that create trouble for the company. So to avoid the errors, multiple people in the process, duties are segregated. Next, collusion, collude, join together are the terms when my developer and my QA become a close friend and they start influencing each other, then again fraud may happen. Because let's say if QA is my friend or more influence I have, as a developer, I can influence QA. I develop, QA will not find much bugs as I have good rapport or influence with them. Then what will happen? Again, when you join together, that problem may happen, right? So here is the solution. First thing, you need to segregate the duties. That's the primary thing. When developer shouldn't do QA job, QA shouldn't do the publishing job or a repository job. So 3 different people, 3 different roles allocated. So duties are assigned such that one employee doesn't have enough privilege that they could misuse the system or cause an error on their own. This may fit very good in our real time. Take a bank as an example. When bank manager and cashier, both role assigned to a single person, he can commit a fraud because bank manager monitors the cashier work. Cashier may complain about manager if manager misuse anything. When both the roles combine together, now no one there to complain. So the fraud may happen long term until new person coming into separate role, identify the fraud. So that's where respective roles must be separated. Mostly the critical roles, like if there is a major role, definitely 2 person involved to complete that. For example, some critical environment, opening a data center door need 2 person authentication. First person come and give the first authentication, second person come and give the second authentication, then only the door will open where very critical sensitive data stored in database or servers. So that way separation of duties is one of the security control. So come to 2 person rule. The same example, data center, critical things stored, the storage access using person 1 and person 2. If one person unavailable, the door will not be open. Because to avoid fraud and data theft, the 2 person rule works that way. Sometime administrator credentials or super admin credentials created in a way, first 6 digits entered by person 1, last 6 digit entered by another person, then only you can access the master portal or master account of that particular services. That's how 2% rule works in real time. So this is mostly applicable for critical roles. So 2% rule, just remember, two subjects combined together granting particular object. So two subjects separated by dedicated authentication mechanism. It could be biometric, it could be password, it could be fingerprint. Both of them, when they apply fingerprint, then only the door will open. Kind of 2% rule applicable in real time. Next is storage, where we can keep our passwords. As per security standard and recommendation, passwords are stored in password vault. Password vault is nothing, is a software that can keep all your credentials in an encrypted form or a safe form, so that if someone hacked your system or if someone somehow grant your system access, they cannot see your password. That way it protects companies from password leaking attacks or someone stealing entire password list if everything stored in Excel sheet. Imagine you are a security administrator, you are maintaining 10 routers, 2 firewalls, 1 proxy. You put all the credentials in one Google Doc. Somehow hacker stole that document and boom, your entire company network is in hacker's hand. Now, if you put everything in password vault, that password vault is protected with MFA or additional security master password, that chances of getting into hacker hand is very minimum. Even some case not possible, because the password never stored in plain text or a Google document on your system. Some cases, physical locker deployed in offices where they write the admin credential and keep it as a paper document in physical locker. So that is also available in real time. Some cases where, let's say, password vault software is not there. They like to store all their Azure or whatever cloud services, the master admin credential in a piece of paper and keep them in the secure locker. That's where we need to store the encrypted or secure passwords in the locker or password vault. Password vault means software. Physical locker can be stored as a paper document, so that whenever there is a requirement to password vault is a software. Locker means it's a physical locker, as you know, right? The locker is a safe locker built on metals with multiple login mechanisms available on all the offices. So the password vault, maybe the example software, password one is an application. Keeper is another application. There are many password vault applications available, but this exam standpoint, it is not any vendor specific, right? So you just know password vault is a piece of software that would be used to keep the credentials safer and encrypted form. So now quiz time. So today's session is not won't take 2 hours, so it's a compact content for session 4. We'll cover Q&A detail end of the session. So quiz 3, Priya has to log into many systems on a daily basis and has too many passwords to remember. What's the best way to Priya manage her passwords? Write the passwords down on a piece of paper, store the passwords in a text file and store it in a safe place. Use the same password for every system, better idea. Use a password manager for password vault software. All right, it's very easy, straightforward question, right? So use a password manager or password vault software to manage too many passwords. That's the answer. It's a very fundamental, basic question, as this exam is a very starting one from ISC2. Next topic is IEEE. As we have seen in the past, IEEE identification, authentication, authorization, accountability. But here we are not going to see the IEEE detail because we have seen in the previous domain. However, IEEE linked with our identity and access management. So identity and access management is nothing. The day one you join any company, what you will get? You will get laptop, user ID, password, then their software access could be Outlook, could be Jira, Confluence, or SAP, whatever software, Zoho, or any app they use, they provide you access, right? It could be SSO login, like they go to one application and see all the tiles and access. It's a very basic. Each and every company following the same structure. If you take any IT company, this is the flow. They day one they provide laptop and access, basic access to complete the courses training. Then slowly you will request for necessary applications that get added into the respective portal or desktop. Now, how this process managed? Centrally, decentralized, hybrid. What is centralized means the company has only branch in Chennai. Now, they don't have any other branch across India or global. It's a small startup. Problem solved. It is centrally managed because only Chennai people join. People grant access from respective local Chennai office. They don't have problem. When decentralized come, let's say they have office in Chennai, Pune, Delhi, Bangalore. Now, each location, there is a different administrator providing different credentials, different user logging in. Local administrator from Chennai and Pune or Bangalore, they don't have connect. They operate in silos. Chennai, they take care of everything. Bangalore, they take care of everything. That is called decentralized. No connect. If Bangalore or new employee join, Chennai administrator don't even know who is joining, who is leaving the company. So they work decentralized way. Every location they manage local identity provider, Entra ID or Azure or Okta or Ping Identity, any IDP they use and it operates independently. When it comes to centralized, when combine onboarding and employee resignation or separation or deboarding can be centralized. For example, someone resigned from Bangalore office, someone resigned from Chennai office. The request go to administrator who is managing all the locations centrally. He act upon the request, remove the user or joining, add the user into the user identity and access management system. That is centrally managed. That is why it is called a centralized identity and access management. Decentralized, they work in silos. They don't have connect. Like each office, own IDP, own administrator. Hybrid, they operate in a way centralized as well as locally. Both capabilities there. Why this was evolved? Maybe in starting stages, companies are decentralized. Once it become Microsoft Entra ID is a cloud-based IDP, Okta is another IDP, Ping Identity or ForgeRock, many identities are exist in the world. When that comes, it become a centralized IDP because when you purchase Microsoft license, you purchase for entire company, one IDP, one domain. All users, user IDs start with user@company.com. Now company.com linked to respective IDP. So now it become a centralized. So this may be in olden years, it got evolved like first it was decentralized, now centralized. When migrating between decentralized to centralized, there is a hybrid pattern exist. Hybrid pattern is nothing. User can be locally provisioned as well as centrally provisioned or deprovisioned. Both capabilities some companies have. This is called hybrid. So now you must understand these three concepts. You may expect question from these three concepts. The life cycle is very simple. When employee joining, employee get added. For example, take me, Ismail join a company. They provide new email ID, user ID, password or laptop. Now provisioning done. Review as part of ISO 2000, 27000 or any ISO standard. If the company is maintaining the standard, every year they need to audit and review how many users are in the system, how many users are given access. Every year they do audit and reviewing. Because if let's say 10 users resigned last year, the 10 user accounts are not revoked, still the user exists in the system, which means if that users use the password, they can log into the system and steal the data. even though they are not in the company anymore, but they can still steal the data, right? So for that, review is important. So provisioning, the day one of joining or moving from one company to another company or one department to another department is provisioning. Now every year or every 6 months they review. Revocation happens when termination happens, layoff happens, resignation happens, when separation happens, when you move away from the company. The day you left, you submit your hardware or laptops, immediately they revoke the access. So you no longer have access to any of the software or hardware. I put this word privilege creep. Any of you in this group know what is privilege creep? Just put 2 statements on that privilege creep if you know. All right, no worries. So privilege creep means I start a job in, maybe take my example. I started my career in 2014 as a network analyst. The day one I joined, I have access to 2 non-production routers, maybe 5 firewalls. That's the minimum access I had in my company. Within 1 year, I promoted as L3 engineer. Now I have access to entire production environment. Then after 2 years, I become a manager. I have access to many other stuff, applications, softwares. Now what's happening? I joined as an analyst. I promoted as L3 engineer. Now become a manager. Over the period, staying in the same company, you are accumulating more permissions year by year. Whenever you get promotion, whenever you're moving within the company, you are adding more permissions into your user ID. Your user ID can be used to access my non-production routers, my production entire computer network or router switches. Become a manager, I have access to, employee, maybe the, what is that called, appraisal cycle or any other critical application, right? So over the period, I have accumulated multiple privileges. Once I become a manager, I don't even need access to my non-development router and switches. That can be revoked, but that's not happened in my company. This is called privilege creep. Staying in the same company or role more than longer period, you will slowly accumulate more privileges which is not necessary for your role. That is violating the principle of least privilege. Come back to the same example where the bank hired an electrician that given extra access, right? Same thing happened to you. You stayed in a company for long years, you get everything which doesn't even required for your day-to-day job today. Now that is called privilege creep. So accumulating permissions over the period, that permissions doesn't require to do your job, or without that permissions you can continue to survive or do a job. That is called privilege creep. So you can just imagine over the period accumulating more permissions because of staying in a same company as well as getting into multiple roles. You have more access. If a hacker compromise your credential, they have access to everything. Non-production, production, HR system, boom, everything, they can spoil or compromise specific application. That's why the term called privilege creep maybe can be prevented. Whenever there is an internal promotion, whenever there is an internal movement of employee, the privilege creep shouldn't happen. Respective privileges should be revoked. The new privileges or set of new permissions should be granted based on the current role of the employee. Hope that is clear. Next, Kamachi has been an employee of Acme Corp for over 20 years. During that time, she has been able to access more and more systems. Now she has access to systems she doesn't even need access to in order to do her job. This is an example of what type of situation. Very simple, guys. Take the chat, press the answer. Yeah, straightforward. Privilege creep. Privilege modification, access management, privilege access management, not the right answer, because I'm just adding into your brain and intelligence privilege creep. So you will not forget in your lifetime what is privilege creep means. That's a new terminology that we never use in our regular life. But exam standpoint, if you see privilege creep, you must know this story and you can answer the right question. But in real time, if you are administrator, if you are pursuing your career in IT security, you can understand what level of impact privilege creep will create if that is properly handled, if that is not properly handled. Now come to privilege accounts. I know user account. When I join a company, they give access to my user ID, right? So that is user account, normal user account. What is privileged accounts? Privileged accounts are accounts which has more permissions. For example, you purchase a new laptop. In laptop store, they give you user ID and password, which is admin credentials. You can do anything on your laptop because you are the owner, right? Let's say that same laptop used by your brother and sister. Now you need to create two more accounts in the same laptop. Now you are creating more users, not administrators. Only first user is the administrator. The second two users, you can make it as administrator. It's optional, but you are creating a users. Now, the very first account, you get it from the laptop store, right? That is privilege accounts. Whatever accounts you are additionally adding is user accounts. But other than that, in real time, there are other privileged accounts exist. First one is domain administrator. In olden days, ADFS server or any type of OpenIDP servers used to manage employee user ID passwords in a physical servers. That has domain administrator credentials. If someone compromise domain administrator credentials, they can take over your company's all employee profiles and user ID passwords. They can delete and they can add more users to compromise your company's database. So domain administrator accounts are under privileged accounts. Local administrator is the same example. When you buy a new laptop, they give local administrator credentials from the store. Or very first time when you boot up OS, you can set the local administrator. Super user in Linux term is equivalent to local administrator. Emergency accounts, some companies create emergency accounts in admin privilege and they keep it for backup. When suddenly some administrator passed away or any life-threatening event happened to the administrator, the company end up no way to access their employee database or critical servers, right? So to avoid that, company create emergency account and keep them in the locker or password vault. Whenever the administrator is inaccessible due to life-threatening situation as death or accident or anything could happen to human life, they use these emergency accounts to recover the admin privileges because the only one admin they may have that no longer there in the company. So to continue the business, they use emergency accounts. Social user accounts may designate key personnel get privileges to be able to access highly sensitive systems. This is again department specific special user accounts can be created. Privileged system accounts, which is called PSA, right? So this specific account may be used in process like automation, API, algorithm, or any script that can be used to connect machines together. But these are the privileged accounts. The reason behind is this may execute the code, this may has write access, this may create, delete, update objects in the system. That's why this is called a privileged accounts. There are many vendors providing privileged access management, like CyberArk is one example. Citrix may have another component called Citrix IDP kind of a solution. So to manage privilege accounts itself, a separate security products available in the market. But for exam standpoint, you must know what all are these accounts. Just a simple definition. So I put exact definition here. You just understand what is domain user, what is super user, what is privileged system accounts. Just for exam standpoint, if there is a scenario, they will not provide the explanation. You must know what is privileged system accounts means. Now, when you handle best, privileged accounts, there are best practices we need to follow. These accounts are created for specific purpose. Take emergency accounts. Same example. Human can For human, anything can happen. It could be death, accident. Human cannot be available. Suddenly, the employee run away or theft, or absconding. Right? It's happening in the real time industry. So when single administrator suddenly disappeared in the company, excuse me, company created emergency accounts. So there is a specific purpose. Reviewed at a greater frequency than regular accounts. If regular user, every 1 year they are reviewing, privileged accounts, maybe they every 2 months or every 15 days they review, is privileged accounts are safe, credentials are safe, how many times who logged in, they review the audit logs because these accounts are having high privileges. So if this account's compromised, that poses a security threat for the company. Next, automated services and programs should avoid being run using privileged accounts. These privileged accounts are not recommended to use it in automation scripts because, for example, if you use emergency accounts in your automation scripts, what will happen? This may have more privilege. The script is compromised. Hacker can execute anything over through the script. So next, just-in-time access. Most of the time, these accounts are created with just-in-time. For example, domain administrator only work in the event of employee forget the password, reach the IT support, they retrieve the local admin password to delete the existing user and create or reset the password. So only 20 minutes, 30 minutes this accounts should be active, then they disable the access for the local admin as well. So that's how just-in-time access helps preventing fraud and compromise. For example, you have full administrator access on the server. There is a third-party company coming for troubleshooting on the server. You create 30 minutes super admin credential that only works for 30 minutes. After 30 minutes, it will be automatically revoked. So if that third-party support engineer coming for a troubleshooting, if he stores the credential, that will not work anymore because only 30 minutes is just-in-time access granted. Perform monitoring and logging all PAM activity. Privileged accounts management, the primary thing is auditing. They log each and every accounts, log in, log out, when the login, where the login, what resource they accessed using this credentials or logged in the system clearly for audit as well as forensic analysis. If something bad happened, let's say administrator suddenly become an insider threat. He took all the data and sell it to competitor. Now there is a forensic analysis. When administrator violated the company policy, when he became an insider threat, when he sold the credential or files to a competitor, these all tracked using audit log. So audit log is a digital evidence primarily used to file a case against employees or if someone is violating the company policies. So all the activities logged for auditing as well as forensic analysis. Next, come to the logic access controls. The logic access controls, if you take your mobile phone, you are using PIN number, fingerprint, or facial ID, right? That is logical access control. You have a logic, you have a pattern, you have a password. Similarly, in IT system, you have password, you have fingerprint, you have access control, which only allows if you are coming from particular IP address or particular office device. These all fall under logic access controls. Logic access control or technical access control, both are same. Don't get confused. Logical access control, everything inside application, software, firewall, router, switches, anything inside computer fall under logical access control. Anything outside computer, could be door, could be security guard or entry gate, all fall under physical access control. Primarily, maybe last 5 decades, user ID and password is ruling the market or industry. Now mobile or app or specific tablets or comes with various ways of authentication like facial recognition, voice recognition, fingerprint, etc. So logical access controls can be used to prevent unauthorized access. In logical or logical or technical access control, primarily three control models available: discretionary access control, mandatory access control, role-based access control. I will provide three examples so that you will not forget these concepts. So discretionary access control, if you are regularly using your Gmail, Google Drive, you are using this model. Okay, how this works: you go to Google Drive, create a document. In the document sharing option, you are adding your colleague or your friend as a edit privilege. You are giving access to edit the same document. Now what you are essentially doing, you are the owner of the document, you are the subject, you have access to the respective Google document, which is object. Now the subject one, you granting access to another subject, which is your friend or colleague, subject two, to modify the document. This is called discretionary access control model. DAC provides the owner of the resource, typically creator, you, full control. You have access to your Google Drive, you have full control. You can delete, open, create any document on your Google Drive. Full control to configure which subject. Here, which subjects means your friend, your college mate, or your colleague, your teacher, your professor. You are sharing the document with someone. It could be user groups. This allows user, the object owner, you, ability, discretion to make decisions such as what permission other users or groups users have over the object. So very simple example, right? This is easily understandable. Everyone uses Google Drive, Google Doc. In Google Doc, you have share button. You can find your friend over using his email ID. Give edit privilege. So that same document you and your friend are working, right? So that is called a discretionary access model. How this works in real company environment. Your company may use OneDrive, not Google Drive. Maybe you may use Google Drive or Soho file sharing system or any other company system, right? Every system you may see the similar pattern. They create a file, they share it with someone. So both will be able to access the same file, irrespective of vendor or a company. So in company perspective, in work situation, let's say your company is fully invested on O365, which is Microsoft. Microsoft has OneDrive or SharePoint as a file storage mechanism. Now, in that SharePoint, you can create a file, you can share it with your manager, your peer, or your colleague, so that both can work on the same system, same file or folder. Now, the permission you are sharing, you are the owner of the file, you can share or give the granting permission to edit permission or view permission to others. So the the object owner can grant permission to others. This is called a discretionary access model. I pause for a moment. Let me know if you have any questions. All right, so if no further questions, we'll move on. Next one is mandatory access control, which is called as MAC. MAC primarily used in army. This came from army or traditional government agencies. They classify the files: secret, top secret, confidential. Then, based on the label, files are granted to access to subject. So the object owner doesn't have control whom he is granting or not granting. You imagine a situation here. There is a document you have prepared for your company. In that document, you are labeling as confidential data. Confidential is the keyword you put on the top. That document become a confidential document now. In access control, they write a rule: confidential files only accessed by managers and above. Manager, director, VP, CEO can access whatever documents labeled as confidential. You have created the file, you are the owner of that object. However, you don't have control whom you are granting access to, because the access control placed by someone, the access control definition here, grant access to confidential document only manager and above, right? So that's how mandatory access control works. In real time, this is used in Linux. In Windows, you can set file access everyone, executable privilege under going to properties. So this primarily used in systems, file systems or OS, where files are classified as read only, write only, or confidential, where you can change the file permission using chmod command in Linux. So you are making a file with certain label that only can be accessed by certain group of users, that is predefined by the policy. That is called mandatory access control. Okay. So yeah, now come to the role-based access control. Role-based access control based on the role. I joined as a HR, I have access to HR management system software, or whatever document start with HR or whatever HR labeled, I have access to HR related documents. They are not focusing on file labeling or file permission. They segregate based on the roles. If user has X role, has access to Y documents. If user has A role, access to B document. So like that, the role-based access are created. So each model differ from each other. If you take DAC, object owner has full authority. You create a document, you know whom to access, whom to stop giving access. You have full access. In MAC, subject, object, they don't have any privilege to grant access or stop granting access, because granting access or not granting access taken care by labeling, which is managed by someone else in the access control. Like you only put a label on the document, access control taken care by another access policy where rules are taken place. Manager and above can access confidential data. So manager, director, CEO, default, they get access to all confidential files. We no need to give one by one access, right? Similarly, role-based access, the moment you create a document, the moment you create some object, if the user has particular role, automatically granted access, right? So that way, three different model works. In exam standpoint, yeah, so if you understand MAC and RBAC are almost similar, really not. The reason MAC and RBAC differ, mandatory access control primarily present in operating system. You imagine Linux. You have a read-only file, write file, or executable file with chmod file permission, right? When you go on access without sudo mode, you cannot open certain file. Now, what is preventing that file from accessing? Because that file doesn't have executable privilege or respective permission, right? That is taken care by some permission control. Here, for example, we give secret, top secret, confidential. This is not the case always. Even you can mark it as 1, 2, 3. File 1, 2, 3. Whatever file comes with 1, they can access. Whatever file comes with 2, only manager and above can access. So classifying files Then applying that classification to access the respective files is MAC. But in RBAC, you are not classifying the files. You are backing the roles. You only have specific roles has access to specific section of the Google Drive. Sales department doesn't have folder access of HR department, right? Again, it goes to the specific object based on the user department or role. So the role primarily used in the RBAC. I can say how this evolved. Mac was the oldest one. It was in most of the file systems, Windows, Mac, or Linux. You will see mandatory access control easily, because whenever you create a file, you may give access to everyone, specific user. That way, Mac ruled the industry. DAC is primarily, you can see Google Doc primarily leverage this. Role-based access control, any admin consoles primarily take AWS or Azure. You have support administrator, you have help desk user, you have administrator, cloud deployment engineer, different roles available with respective permissions, right? That is role-based access controls. So specific role, specific access granted. But they will not give user by user. As soon as user hired to the team, the same users get respective access. So next, account types. User account, administrator account, guest account, shared account, service accounts. User accounts, normal. If you have 1,000 employees in your company, all must have user accounts. Administrator accounts, maybe to manage 1,000 users, only 2 administrator is more than enough. So 2 administrator accounts, maybe one emergency account, they keep it in vault. So only 3 administrator account they may create. Guest account. Let's say you are visiting some companies for a troubleshooting purpose. You are a specialized engineer. You know some specific product. Your product used by the customer. Now you are going to customer place for troubleshooting. Customer may give you account which is temporarily in time access. That is called guest account as well. So guest come and use it. As soon as guest leave the premises, that account get revoked. Shared generic account is primarily service accounts, they call it as, or service accounts. Shared accounts may overlap sometimes, because shared accounts, for example, they purchase one Windows license, but 3 people come and use the same laptop for work. Morning 9 to 5, one guy log in. After 5 to till 2 a.m., another guy will log in. Night 1 to maybe morning 5 a.m. or till 8 a.m. Another guy will log in, but all 3 uses same credential. That is called shared accounts, because to cut the licensing cost, create more users may incur more cost to the company. So avoid that, companies will do shared accounts. Service accounts primarily used for automation. Let's say my script runs every 1 hour and update the Windows events to database. Then service accounts would be used to do that task. Most of the time, service accounts may not require password. Passwordless service accounts also exist. You can simply create an account, disable the password. That account used in API, every time the script runs, that uses that account to execute the task on the systems. Service accounts may come with password, that password stored in encrypted form in the script that used to execute the particular automation. Before go to physical access control, let's take a 5 minutes break. We'll come back around 8:06 p.m. So next topic would be physical access control. As I said, outside computer systems, whatever security controls company is enforcing all fall under physical access control. The textbook statement, physical security control that regulates, monitors access to physical resources such as data center facility. The purpose of physical access control is to prevent and monitor physical attacks such as break-ins, theft, physical harm. In this section, we look at physical access control that prevent, control, monitor physical access to protect people, assets, and facilities. Very simple. This particular control we can see on our own eyes, right? Because when you visit any IT company, the entry access, you need to write a entry level check-in first level. At the entry, you need to put your name, where you are coming from, check-in time, whom you are meeting, like basic control, right? Any unauthorized unknown person cannot enter any protected area. If you take any critical infrastructure such as airport or any secure area, without prior appointment or valid access proof, you cannot enter, right? So physical access control has various components. We'll cover most of the components in this section. So the perimeter and entrance protection. Perimeter entrance protection, maybe compound, wall, fence can be used, right? Then facility access. There are ways by design. If you take environmental design considerations, if you ever visited any very old traditional temple or very historical places, you may notice security by design. The castle or something located centrally outside respective walls, protected. So they designed that particular building in a way they have very minimum resource to manage, right? So that we can see under environmental design considerations for respective building, because not every building built for same purpose, right? If you take five-star hotels, the entry and exit separate. If you take banks, they have different kind of entrance or security protection they may keep. If you take airport, you can see most of the airports are structured similar way, like entry check-in, then security check, then you need to go to gate. So different areas allocated for a different purpose. However, that design, how they are designing to less resources with design itself give them the security. So if anyone trying to bypass everything and directly go to the boarding gate, impossible, because first they need to get into the entry, then security check, then only get into the boarding gate, right? So that way the design itself enough security in place. Similarly, in IT systems or IT buildings, when you build a company, if particular purpose you are building, then you need to follow the specific design consideration so that that building itself provide you necessary physical security, right? So in perimeter entrance, if you take any company's entrance, you will see these components: bollards, fencing and walls, revolving doors, man trap. So maybe these terminologies are new to you, but you might have definitely seen in IT companies. So fencing is very common. You can see everywhere. Fencing is basic. You can see it in airport or any restricted areas. Fencing is very basic. How much is the fencing height? What the wire they are using on the top, that depends on the fencing standards and what type of environment the fencing is protecting. We don't no need to go to that level. Fencing is one of the entrance protection. That's it. Then the middle one is revolving doors. Revolving doors has a control. They can stop the revolving door at any given point. If someone is taking something and running away through revolving door, they can shut the door, so that will trap the human inside that revolving door. So that become a security control for entrance. The turnstile is the right side. You see this one. This you might have seen in most of the metro stations. This kind of turnstiles used, where you need to tap your ticket, then the turnstiles will rotate. You can enter and exit. So basically, this is just preventing unauthorized person entering into your physical premises. So the bollard is the steel rods, or this can be available in many form, like round one or cylinder type of bollards. some bollards is movable, like it can go up and down by remote, like allowing some vehicle and stopping the vehicle in the entrance. So that way, bollards used to protect office premises. These iron rods over the pathways would protect if any vehicle, the speedy vehicle hit the building. These bollards will take the force and protect that building from that particular physical risk, right? So that's how these are designed. You might have seen these things in metro station, airports, or five-star hotels, but we don't connect why they are using. But now from this course you might have understand these are called under perimeter and entrance protection. Okay, we are not only just cybersecurity means system hacking things. Even the physical security fall under cybersecurity, as if anything stolen, let's say computer or data center servers, that become a critical asset that can be manipulated or leaked or left the premises through, if perimeter is weak. Let's say you don't have fence, what will happen? Anyone can come to your office premises, right? So that's how the entrance protections are important. Next is man trap. I have seen this type of man trap is in most of the IT services critical projects. Let's say big IT services like TCS or HCL, like those companies. If you ever visited, they group each project into separate building, separate floor, right? So before you enter into specific project group, the employees need to tap two times. First they tap and open the first door, then they go into the small room. You see on the middle of the image, you see there are two doors available, right? First they give access to first door, then first door open, they go into the small room, then they tap again, the second door will open, then they get into the working area. What type of control this provides? Primarily it is preventing tailgating, like if someone else is following you, by just you access your door and someone is getting to the uh, secure area, right? So to avoid that, they put this type of control. So first you tap and go inside the small room, so no one is there in that small room. Then you tap again, then the second door will open. So the tailgating can be minimized. Also, they have control to lock the door. If someone is taking something and run out, if first door is opened, second door they can still lock, so they can trap the thief, or someone is taking any valuable assets from the secure area. So next, facility access. When you go and access any facility, it could be office building, data center, right? So you must showcase. You need to first meet the security personnel. You need to, if you have any prior appointment, they take the fingerprint or a webcam photo, right? So the front desk takes the photo, then they will give you a visitor pass, then only you can enter the building. You need to show your photo ID, or if you are a regular visitor, they may give you badge, that badge to be tapped in the door, right? So next we have various door access systems like badge system. Badge means they have a card. That card they tap and the door get opened. There is a barcode. Based on barcode reader, the door will open. Magnetic stripe. If you have seen old ATM cards, there is a black magnetic strip that stores some information that can be used to access your authentication and open the door. Then proximity card, similar to our kind of the toll gate we are paying right through the smart card or RFID card. When you are enter into the specific proximity, it sends you and open the door. Then smart card, which may have chip and processor that used to sense the data and transmit the information, that is more secure compared to other technology, because smart card has processor or a chip that used to transmit the data that cannot be duplicated, because other patterns can be duplicated. For example, if someone can copy the barcode, copy the magnetic strip, proximity card can also copy it using devices like collecting the signals and transmitting similar level of signals that can cause the problem. But smart card could be one of the safest technology in door system, because smart cards has that chip and processor that cannot be duplicated. Then we have RFID technology. So facility access, third party or contractor, when someone is visiting your office, when they enter entry point, they update the system when they are entering, whom they are meeting, what time they are coming, what is the ID proof. When they complete all the work, when they leave, they again put the exit time, what time they are leaving. So that way user come to that particular time into the premises, exit that particular time, that is logged. If it is a regular employee, it is not feasible, right? Every time writing and exiting, right? So they use automated badge systems. So next is security personnel security protocols, the 2% integrity, 2% control. So these two terms you must know. So 2% integrity, there are operations can only done with if 2% present in that location or that moment. I can say, for example, you are a data center technician. You need to visit the particular data center for work. That data center is very highly sensitive data center. Critical databases servers are hosted in there. Now, to access the door, 2% must come with you. The two security guard, first guard give the first door access, second guard give the second door access, or same door, first guard will enter the first 6-digit pin, the next guard will enter the next 6-digit pin. Once both are matched, then only the door will open. So that is 2% integrity. So the 2% control, similar concept. For example, to execute something, 2% should approve. For example, you need to make a change on your router. First your manager should approve, then change implementer should approve, then only you have option to implement the change. So the 2% control primarily help to prevent fraud, unauthorized access, because highly critical environment, making changes properly documented and approved by respective authorities. So they use 2% control implementation. Next, quiz 5. Bharat is responsible for the physical security of a facility that stores backup tapes containing sensitive information. Maybe this generation may not seen this backup tabs. Backup tapes is nothing. It's a magnetic tap. They take backup. It's a low-cost storage media. It's like old audio recorder or video recorder where the reels are there, right? So similar storage media, they store the system backups. He is implementing a new policy that requires no employee access the facility alone, that any access requires presence at least 2 authorized employees. Which term best to describe this policy? 2% rule, 2% control, 2% restriction, 2% integrity. This is slightly complex one, right? Because 2% needed, but 2% rule, 2% control, 2% restriction, maybe 2% restriction not exist, we can eliminate. 2% integrity was there in the previous thing, 2% control also there in the previous examples, right? So here is a backup facility only accessible if 2% present, right? So here it's most suitable. Here is 2% control. If 2% are present, then only we can access. So at times you may confuse 2% control or 2% integrity. Which one I need to select? So here we need to find most suitable one, most or best answer. We need to find the whatever, wherever you feel one is less or least one, you can eliminate. But these type of questions you can get familiar when you take more number of practice questions. Environmental design consideration. As I said, if you take any castle or old structural buildings, if you ever visited Madurai Meenakshi Amman temple, where you can see the 4 side they protected, the middle of the place where the temple located, right? So that type of architecture, the environment itself designed for security. So that's how it evolved from the historical things, but we can use that in industry where, for example, you are building a data center, you are building a shopping market or a shopping complex where uh, entry and exit to be properly designed, the light visibility, where people come and go, more lightening, more surveillance, CCTV cameras will prevent unauthorized access or attacks or anything on your premises. These all things we need to take consideration before building things. So even if you are building your house, you need to mention, you need to understand where your house is located. Is there a risk? Is there a way, how you are constructing your house? Is that more secure, right? So, but nowadays city, it won't be possible. When you buy a house, everything is pre-built. Maybe you have less options, but when you are building something rural or area, you have full control. You can design your building based on the security controls implemented, like the environmental design itself. You can use environment as one of the security measure. So that's what here talking about IT buildings. When you design IT buildings, how people are entering the office premises, how people are exiting from the office premises, where you need to install more lightening, where you install maybe the over ceiling to protect employees from the rain, or when they are entering exiting, where they are getting down, or a drop point or pickup point for your employees. These all come to the consideration, because when you have door windows, that's where access happens, right? When you have lift, people come and go. When you have doors, people come and go. So you need proper lighting, so that night times the CCTV cameras can surveil or take the footages clearly. Otherwise you may not able to see what's happening on that particular area. That become a block spot for crime. Now, natural access control. This design of physical access in such a way that it guides people where you want them to go and prevent them from going where they don't want them to go. Leveraging sidewalks, bollards, trees, shrubs, fences, and lighting. Using these components, you can design the entry point. If you take any IT complex, they put sidewalks. People walk, and that will take them to the entry or help desk or entry point to get into the building, right? So they use sidewalk as a natural access control. People will not walk other than sidewalks, because sidewalks are designed to walk, so that they will not go other places. No one will go and ask which building I need to go, because every signboard clearly indicate with the arrow mark, and proper sidewalks are constructed in the IT building or IT specific area. If you ever visited TCS or HCL campuses in Chennai or Noida, big campuses, you might have seen this in your own eyes. Natural access control exists. Even natural access control, you can see it in airports. If you visited Bangalore airport, you will not get lost, because every gates, every path is clearly signed, and the sidewalks are clearly mentioning where you are going. You will not go and ask everyone where I have to go. So that way they minimize that confusion by natural access control. Natural surveillance talks about um, walkways, lighting can provide ability to easily people see who are near the entrance and exit building of your facilities. Again, natural surveillance, nothing. You need proper lighting, so that people can see each other. CCTV cameras can take the footages for surveillance. So enough light will give clear clarity to people. They won't get confused in the dark. Next, territorial reinforcement. The design of building exterior to provide visual cues that helps distinguish public and private areas. So it's very clear, right? When you see when you enter airport, you can clearly distinguish this is airport area, this is private area or private hotel outside the airport, right? Clearly you can distinguish, because the signboard or a starting point, ending point clearly mentioned. This is restricted area. You shouldn't entertain. This is your private area where you can go and have something for hotel or whatever premises next to the airport. So clear signboard, clear visible things. If it is a government college or government hospital, you can clearly see till which place government hospital. After that, the private property gets started. So based on the board or signing, right, that clearly gives that reinforcement. These areas are protected or restricted. Same goes to army, or if you have seen any army quarters or police quarters, they clearly put the indication. This is where the government or restricted area. They put clear signboard, right? So that way the territorial reinforcement happens. So the secure area, public people shouldn't be allowed, right? So that way environmental design consideration helps companies to save the uh, building or premises from unauthorized access. So next quiz, which of the following is not a goal of the crime prevention through environmental design philosophy? So far we have seen environmental design, right? So the CPTED means crime prevention through environmental design. Natural surveillance, natural detection, natural access control, natural territorial reinforcement. This question is just opposite, right? You are asking not a goal. So not a goal means natural surveillance is a goal. Natural detection, we are not detecting anything. Natural access control, yes, using sidewalks, signboards can be used as a natural access control. Natural territorial reinforcement, visible signboard, visible, perimeters, where the airport starts, where the airport ends, where the police station starts, where it ends, clearly visible, distinguished from public and private property. So, natural detection is not a goal for crime prevention through environmental design. So, from this lesson, not for IT industry or cyber security, if you build anything, it could be your own property. You just apply this logic by using natural crime prevention through environmental design. How I can build a house, proper house with minimum security, or building something or a private asset like a shopping complex or something, how you can build secure crime prevention through environmental design. So that way I really like enjoying studying this type of topics. Even there are courses talks about how thin your wall must be, how much height you need to install the CCTV camera, what insulation you need to use your CCTV camera cables. These all in a course, specific course for auditors who audit airport metro stations. How many CCTV cameras should be installed? These all predefined in some standards. So really, if you are enjoying studying those concepts, there are courses out there. You can continue those area, because always cybersecurity is not only on systems. Outside also it expanded about physical security. Next, monitoring physical access. So monitoring is important because two reasons. One, monitoring can help to prevent major incidents. In monitoring, if something is detected, the major incident can be avoided. Second thing, if there is a fraud already happened, we need analysis and identify the theft root cause, identify the attacker, right? So using footages or using logs can help to find who did that, when that incident happened. So first level of physical security is security guard. How many security guard I need to deploy for front desk? How many security guard I need for entire building? What is their rotational shift? Do I need 24/7 weekend coverage? These all fall under security guards under them. You may have seen some company buildings, more security guards deployed. Maybe that company is dealing more secure information or the critical infrastructure they may maintain. So more level of security is needed. If you take a residential building, only one security guard sitting on the entrance, right? It's just a low level of security given to the residential building. That's why the security guard size, the capacity is less. So depends on the asset, companies will deploy security guards. Next, physical access logs. nothing. It's just an entry point where you enter your name, time in, reason, whom you are meeting, when you are exiting, what time you are leaving, right? So if you are come with a two-wheeler or four-wheeler, they ask you to show your two-wheeler, four-wheeler number and update that in the record. Security cameras, primarily they mostly monitor security cameras in all the office premises. So there is a dedicated room, dedicated security forces deployed under monitoring CCTV cameras. Monitoring and alarming system, there are alarms, the motion detection alarms. If someone is entering some highly restricted area, automated trigger or alarms are configured. So that depends on, again, business assets, depends on the valuables they are protecting. All right, we'll come to an end. This is what this chapter is, a simple chapter. Also, nothing in terms of technology, nothing complex. You might have seen everything relatable. You may have seen in real time if you ever travel or visit most of the offices places. Things are in place in well established environment, like if you ever visited Passport Seva, airport, metro stations, these security standards are mostly followed. If you visited maybe a rural side, government buildings may not that level of protection there, but you can relate wherever established buildings are there, you can relate physical security easily. So with that, I come to an end. I would like to talk about one incident today happened with one of the uh, previous batch member who tried to give exam today. What happened? Her husband name in the ID proof, but she didn't put her husband name as a last name in the application form. Because of that, she was stopped at the entry point in the exam center. She couldn't attempt the exam today, so she was denied to enter into the exam center. So considering that, yeah, considering that, if you are taking exam, make sure your primary ID proof and secondary ID proof name is matching with the application form, whatever your name filled. Okay. So again, I'm repeating because this is not the first incident. I had many students reported me um, they miss their initial or their second name, or if they are married, their husband name or wife name is included in the ID proof. That is not there in the application form, they will not enter. So ISC2 has very strict and tight policy validation. They will not allow you if your name is matching as per your ID proof. So if you are taking exam or registered, make sure your name as per primary ID proof what you are carrying that matches with the application name. You can change your application name anytime on ISC2. You cannot change your name on Aadhaar card or passport easily, but use ISC2 application form as a easy option. Go to ISC2 application form, correct the name as per your ID proof. If you have two ID proof, let's say voter ID and Aadhaar card, make that name properly. If you are carrying Aadhaar card, make sure that is government issued PVC Aadhaar card, not a color printout or a laminated one. They won't accept. So there are things. So you make sure you are carrying valid ID proof. Even they accept credit debit card if your name is printed on those bank issued credit debit card with backside sign signature is there. So with that note, I conclude today. If you have any questions, unmute and feel free to ask. All right, guys, if no further questions, we'll wrap this call. Thank you for your time. We'll see you next week.
Hello.
Yes, Sayed, go ahead.
No, I have on doubt.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
In my Aadhaar card, there is a name like Syed Usman and initial as a A.
Sayed Usman, space A or
A
dot A?
space A.
Okay.
But there is an no optional in the adding A in the name right in a form. Is there any cost for any further exam attempt?
Yeah, what you can do, log into your ISC squared. There is an option to create a support ticket. Okay. So create a ticket
Okay.
and explain this problem. My name is Saeed Usman A. I don't have option to add A in the last name. If you put just one letter, it is not accepting. Is that the question, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had same problem. My name is Mohammed Ismail E on the screen, you can see, right? So I was not able to add that E. So then I logged a support ticket. They asked my Aadhaar card, a soft copy. Then they were able to add the E. But the real problem was I didn't had that PVC card from other department or government. I took the color one that received through the post. They didn't accept that Aadhaar card as a proof. I ended up using my driving license and credit card as a proof during the exam. So this is my story as well. So make sure if Aadhaar card is just you are focusing, if you have driving license and one more proof, you focus on that as well. So you can solve that any one of the problem. So always focus on try to fix that in ISC squared website itself. Log a ticket well advanced, work with them, make sure your proof and your name is matching in the application.
Yeah, most of my government ID proofs are ended with the A, Said Usman A.
Yeah, so then you use your Aadhaar card and a driving license as a supporting document, raise a ticket and get that sorted. So they will help you to, update in the system.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Great, man. So like this question, ask in advance. Don't enter into exam center and already you are tensed to give the exam. They stop you. People travel from various towns to the city. Really, hurting. I was just, I felt bad because I repeated this instruction many times, but people not paying attention. End of the day, after their 2 months preparation, end up with wrong ID proof or a small mistakes. That wasting all the thing. Also, rescheduling may not be possible for this pre-attempt. They just consider as you wasted one attempt. Maybe only next year you can take the exam. So that's how their status. So that aspect clearly, pay attention to your ID proof and the name compared to, ISC squared. They have very tight, strict policy. All right, probably I will post the recording day after tomorrow. PAN card as a proof. Someone is asking PAN card as a proof. I never took PAN card. The reason behind that, my PAN card name is totally different. I couldn't even use that as a ID proof. It's my case. But in your case, if PAN card has correct format, the name is in first name, last name correctly appeared, you can carry that. But I always suggest take at least 3 to 4 ID proofs. Water ID, Aadhaar card, driving license, PAN card. If you have any other card, credit card, debit card, take those things so that in that last minute suddenly they accepted my debit card. Okay. Otherwise, I was stopped in that entry point because my Aadhaar card was not original. I rely on Aadhaar card and driving license. Now, Aadhaar card is invalid. They picked the driving license as a primary proof. The secondary proof, I used my credit card that has name. So in that case, I have around 4 options because I read about this problem, then I was prepared. So that way, if you prepared, this is not a big hurdle. You bring, generally, everyone might have um, Aadhaar card, PAN card, driving license, debit card, credit card, right? So use that option. If you have doubt, feel free to open a support ticket and attach your soft copy in that ticket and get their confirmation so that you can use that as a proof. Yes, I have confirmed with your support or ISC squared support. These proofs are accepted as per the application name. If you have doubt, well before you do it so that last minute problem will not happen. Everything will be smooth on the exam day. Yeah, it won't take much time. Open a ticket, attach your soft copies, they will give the confirmation based on your application form. All right, guys. So with that note, I conclude. Once again, thank you everyone for joining today. See you next week. Bye-bye.